Thanks to those who are here for being here, and to those who are watching for watching. Special thanks from me to Dr. Dan Young for the trust of the invitation. Forgive this unTEDish cheat, which is on loan from the Music School of Delaware. As I am about to demonstrate, I am by trade a speech writer and not a speech giver. So thanks for your indulgence. As you heard, I am Tracey Quillen Carney, and I have the privilege of serving as Delaware's First Lady. I'm going to talk a little about our awareness of and response to childhood trauma, which is one of the 3 pillars of our First Chance Delaware initiative, and which has taken on even greater urgency during this pandemic era. When I was about 10 years old, I saw my father severely injured in an accident at home. Lots of blood, lots of panic. It was not life-threatening, but it sure felt like it was to me. And in that strange way that a young mind can assume omnipotence, I somehow internalized that the accident had been my fault. For years afterward, I was afraid of making a mistake. I was living not consciously but inescapably by the belief that if I were not good enough, something bad would happen. And as is inevitable under those circumstances, I never felt good enough. The retraumatizing continued to cycle unaddressed until I could no longer sit through a class, could no longer do my homework, could no longer get myself out to the practice field. And mine, by any objective standard, was a minor trauma of a trigger. Nobody died, nobody went to jail, no intentional harm was inflicted. But my life was still upended, really by a lack of information. Neither I nor anyone around me knew that it might be important to understand and respond to my experience of what happened. And my life was healed, ultimately, by safety nets that come with privilege, socially determined safety nets. My chances of recovery would have been very different had my family not had good health insurance, had my parents been incarcerated or unemployed, had people in a position to help been more inclined to judge me and less inclined to give me a chance. Conditions were biased in my favor. Social determinants, determinants of health, of hope, of pretty much everything that factors into the odds of having a satisfying life with a sense of purpose and possibility. Social determinants are exactly what the words say, determined by society, by decisions we make or empower our representatives to make. Children grow, families function, community dynamics develop in a context, and many of the structures that set that context today are unresponsive to what children, families, and communities need to thrive. So there's a lot to do at the policy level toward greater equity and a more promising future. A lot to do at the policy level regarding childhood trauma, especially because individual childhood adversity encompasses and reflects family, community, and intergenerational trauma as well. We all have a role to play in that policy process, recognizing that there is no such thing as, quote, the smartest person in the room. Recognizing that multiple perspectives, including the expertise of direct experience, should inform society's decisions. And it's not just about formal policy and structures. It really is about a culture of commitment, a sense of responsibility we feel and act upon every day to promote the well-being of children. The U.S. Surgeon General, a guy who, in addition to his MD, MBA, and Admiral's uniform, also remembers what it was like to be bullied as a kid and the lingering effects of that experience. His office recently issued, I think it's a preliminary version of a report, Protecting Youth Mental Health. Let me read from the table of contents. What young people can do, page 14. What family members and caregivers can do, page 16. What educators, school staff, and school districts can do, page 19. What healthcare organizations and health professionals can do, page 21. What media organizations, entertainment companies, and journalists can do, page 23. What social media, video gaming, and other technology companies can do, page 25. What community organizations can do, page 29. What funders and foundations can do, page 31. What employers can do, page 33. What federal, state, local, and tribal governments can do, page 35. That's an idea worth sharing. That there's something all of us, each of us can do, something all of us, each of us must do to build a strong foundation for our children. To expand on what Robert Kennedy famously said in 1966, each of us can work to change a small portion of events, and in the total of all these acts will be written the history of this and the hope of the next generation. The Surgeon General reminds us, research shows that the most important thing a child needs to be resilient is a stable and committed relationship with a supportive adult. When we can, when we are called to, we need to rise to that role. And one of the things we have to get over and accept as fact on the policy level is that when it comes to children, we can't scale our way out of the importance of relationships. We also need to remember in all of our contacts with young people, no matter how brief or seemingly casual, that every interaction leaves a mark, for good or for ill. On the ill side, we know about adverse childhood experiences, ACEs, and that a greater incidence of unaddressed adversity correlates with lower grades, lower test scores, more suspensions, expulsions, retentions, and throughout life, with more high-risk behaviors and serious health problems. But we also know that trauma-informed practices, whether in the most challenging circumstances or the most advantaged circumstances like mine, trauma-informed practices can have a huge influence on the trajectory of young people's lives. The Surgeon General, again, mental health challenges in children, adolescents, and young adults are real and they are widespread. But most importantly, they are treatable and often preventable. A student started a fight in school following a classmate's joke about his mom. The teacher, recognizing that there is a reason behind every behavior, took the time, invested the caring, so there could be an informed response. The student told her, "I feel like I have to defend my mom. When my stepdad hit her, I didn't do anything. Now that I'm bigger, I'm not going to let anyone disrespect her." The student still faced disciplinary consequences about the fight, but the response went beyond and deeper than that in a way that reduced the chances of a next fight. In a detention center for girls, the kids were banging on their doors at night, which was based on nothing more than habit, interpreted as defiant and manipulative. But a trauma-informed staff member was insightful enough to figure out that really these girls were scared. Their behavior calmed down when their rooms were painted with more comforting scenes instead of bare walls, when they were given flannel nightgowns, and when the staff started reading to them at night. My friends at Kind to Kids, a Delaware nonprofit that works with youth in foster care, they talk about interventions large and small that can keep kids from dropping out of school. Like a child who didn't want to go to school because of how their hair looked. Got him a haircut. Or the student whose science grade plummeted after their textbook got torn up during a fight at home. Got him a new textbook. Or the kid who was missing school because they didn't have a reliable alarm. Got him a new phone charger. Treatable and often preventable. And sometimes it can be so simple. If we take a beat, move beyond our habits and assumptions, and find out what kids really need. That, along with policies that support children and families, is what keeps trauma from becoming destiny. All of us need to see children and feel a sense of responsibility, knowing that our actions, our words, and our example have an impact. Whatever the context of the interaction, can we teach and model an orientation of curiosity and interest rather than a rush to judgment? Can we teach and model empathy and caring, a sense of connection to each other? Can we model vulnerability and communicate a value of asking for help when we need it? Can we model and cultivate hope, which is a basic need not only for children, but for all of us? There's a traditional greeting among the Maasai. When they meet, they ask, "And how are the children?" In times of peace and security, whether or not individuals themselves have children, they answer, "All the children are well." All the children are well means life is good for the entire community. All of the children, all of our children. Thank you very much.